Hello and welcome to Crumbs Doilies HQ. Now today I'm going to show you how to do a brilliant technique to make your cakes and cupcakes banging. This is a video on how to make chocolate brush strokes. I actually learned how to do this technique for my friend Natasha's wedding. She and her partner Ian got married and they asked me to make their cake. They said they wanted a brushstroke cake and they gave me this beautiful colour palette to work with. So I had lots of fun doing that and I thought I'd show you guys how I did it, but not in those colours because they're special for them. So what are chocolate brushstrokes made out of? Well, obviously chocolate is the big clue there. I am using white chocolate, which is good because you can make that almost any colour you like really, as long as you have the right kind of colour to work with. Obviously, white chocolate is a kind of yellowy colour to start with, so we'll add a little bit of Superwhite powder in a bit to just get that base colour down really sort of white. But I have about 300 or 400 grams of white chocolate. Obviously, this is going to depend on how many chocolate brush strokes you want to make. Maybe you don't want that many. I want lots because I want to do lots of colours with you. So I have my 300 grams of white chocolate. I'm going to try and temper this in the microwave. This is like a cheats temper. I'm going to put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds and then give it a good stir and then keep putting it in the microwave for sort of 10-15 second blasts until it's almost melted, and then I'll stir it to melt completely. So that's my white chocolate melted and it is a lovely dribbly consistency. If you find that it has gone maybe too hot and too far, just put a few more little pieces of unmelted white chocolate, which will kind of temper it back to a normal temperature. And if you find that it's not melted yet, then whack it back in the microwave for a couple of seconds. Just be very careful when you do it, not to overdo it. So obviously, as I said, this is kind of a yellowy colour at the minute and I want my colours to really pop. So to start with, I'm going to make the base colour a bit whiter. I don't know if you saw my drip cake video yet, but in that I gave you a tip about melting the Superwhite with the chocolate. Because this is just chocolate without cocoa butter, I didn't want to do that just because it can affect the temper. So I'm going to pour a little bit out into a smaller bowl to make a white paste and then put that back in. That's looking pretty good. Now you might find that your white chocolate is stiffening up already. It does have a tendency to stiffen up quickly. If it does and you're concerned, then by all means whack it in the microwave, but just for a couple of seconds at a time. You do not want to blast this and like leave it to get too hot. And if you feel like it has got too hot again, just put some unmelted white chocolate in just to bring it back. It's a bit of a juggling act with white chocolate. And I'm going to colour them. I'm going to do 6 colours. My top tip for doing lots of colours is to only do one at a time and work with it and then move on to the next colour because it is stiffening all the time. And in terms of the kinds of colours that you should use, I would always recommend using oil-based colours, but powder colours and gel colours will work as well. I'm going to start with pink though. So as I said, I'm going to work with one colour at a time so that I don't sort of risk stiffening up all my white chocolate to it's unusable. So the way that you do chocolate brush strokes is very, very simple. You need a brush, or if you don't have a brush like this, which is a nice big fat sort of flat one, you can do this technique with a palette knife and it works out pretty well actually. Either of those is fine. So start by putting a blob onto a silpat or a bit of greaseproof paper. And then using your brush or your palette knife, just draw up from your blob up into the distance. And depending on how long you want it to be, you can drag a little bit more of your blob further along, or you can keep it nice and short. It's completely up to you. And in between your brush strokes, and certainly in between your colours, you want to wipe your palette knife or your paintbrush on a dry cloth or a bit of kitchen towel, just to make sure you're not dragging solidified bits of white chocolate through your nice, neat brush stroke. So really it's as simple as that. So you just need to get on with the rest of your colours now. Now, when you're drawing your paintbrush along your blob of white chocolate, be careful not to put too much pressure on. especially in the middle, because you don't want to have it really thin and snappy in the middle, because that could cause it to break. So if you've tempered your white chocolate right, then the first ones that you did will already be completely set and solidified. But in case they're not, don't panic. You can just put them in the fridge for 5 or 10 minutes and they'll be just right. And if you have leftover white chocolate, even if it's coloured, you can use that again. So you can temper that just by putting it in the microwave. And the same rule applies. If it gets too hot, just whack some more white chocolate in it. But for now, I'm going to pop these in the fridge. So I have all my paintbrushes. I actually made some more little guys just to kind of fill in any holes I might have. And they're nicely tempered and they're snappable. And what that means is they can be quite difficult to get off your silpat or your greaseproof paper. In fact, a couple of mine have broken at the brush stroke. I've got a little tip for you. If you put your fingers under the silpat, right under where the fragile bit is, and push from the fragile bit downwards, you can see it comes off a lot easier. So just carefully release all of your brush strokes, just being really careful because they are very fragile, and also the heat of your hands may start to melt them, so be careful when you're handling them, don't handle them too much. And I have this delightful 2-tier cake, which I just happen to have lying around, and I'm going to jazz it up with these lovely brush strokes. So I'm going to stick each piece on with another bit of white chocolate, which is just melted. You could use buttercream as well, or even royal icing if you have some knocking about. Anything kind of sticky will work. Sticky and edible, obviously. No blue tack or glue. And it's really up to you how you want to position these, and it can be quite tricky. I like to hold them up a little bit just to kind of figure out where I'm going to place them, just to get an idea of what it's going to look like. It's really up to you how you do it. Whenever you're sticking a new brush stroke on and you've put your white chocolate on the back of it, just make sure it's making contact with something, otherwise it's just gonna fall right off. I think this is done. I don't want to put all of my brush strokes on because it can look a little bit busy. So I'm just going to keep these back. They'll keep for a week or so in the fridge, or you can just eat them. Or if you've made small ones, you could even decorate cupcakes with them. It's completely up to you. And if you want to make a 2-tier or even a 3-tier cake, then don't forget last week's video was a masterclass on stacking cakes, so check that out. What else? This cake looks great. I'm really pleased with it. And if you've made it, make sure you take a picture and put it on Instagram using the hashtag CupcakeJemma so that I can see it. And the Tuesday tips is going to be next week with the C&D gang, and I will be back at the usual time next Thursday, 6:30, with a cupcake recipe. So come along for that. And in the meantime, subscribe to my channel because you don't want to miss any of this stuff. Hee hee. Gonna eat a stroke.